Blockchains and cryptocurrencies hold the potential to completely revolutionize the financial system as we know it. With this open and permissionless network, it's creating all kinds of different ways to completely change how we store and transfer value online. But there's a problem. There's so many different cryptocurrencies out there, and many of the prices are just completely based upon speculation. But what if there was a new emerging class of cryptocurrencies that actually had real value based on utility and revenues that were paid back to the token holders, just like a stock? Well, in this video, I'm going to explain a specific project that's doing this and why it's such a big deal, and how this could be a massive move for the entire crypto space, and how with this, there could be a big opportunity for developers if that's you watching this video. So trust me, you're going to want to pay attention to this. I'm going to explain everything you need to know in this video today as a blockchain developer myself who works this technology on a daily basis. So if you're new around here, hey, I'm Gregory, and on this channel, I turn you into a blockchain master. So if that's something that you're interested in, then make sure you smash that like button down below and subscribe. And if you want to take advantage of all the insane opportunity that's happening in the crypto space right now, especially as this crypto bull market is heating up, then I can show you how to increase your income by becoming a blockchain developer over at dappuniversity.com/bootcamp. All right, so let's get into this. Let's talk about this new class of cryptocurrencies that can be a massive deal for all of crypto because, well, they answer the question of why should this cryptocurrency be valuable in the first place? So let's start off with the problem and then talk about the solution. So the problem is most cryptocurrencies derive their value purely based upon speculation, okay? So if you even look at the number one cryptocurrency, Bitcoin, and you see its price, you have to ask yourself, why is it worth that amount of money? Well, really, it's based upon people have just decided that they want to store value in Bitcoin and therefore is worth this current price. And of course, there's going to be a lot of speculation on what the price of that asset's going to do in the future, which is then baked into the price. And this isn't necessarily bad or wrong. It just is what it is. And that's one of the most confusing things when people come in the crypto space. They say like, why is this token worth this amount of money? Because it doesn't exactly work like stocks, okay? Now, of course, there's going to be mispricing of stocks in the stock market, but fundamentally, most stocks are valued based upon the earnings, okay? So basically, if you own stock in a company, you own part of an asset that's hopefully producing revenues, and you're entitled to ownership in that company. And if it pays, dividends, of course, then you can get part of those cash flows. But most cryptocurrencies don't work this way. You don't actually own a part of the protocol or the network that you're holding, okay? And you're not really benefiting from the revenue that's coming into that network or protocol, except for, a new class of tokens that is moving to do this. And I want to talk about one in particular at this video because I think it can be a massive deal. So what is it? Well, Uniswap, the most popular decentralized exchange out there, just recently announced the launch of their new Unichain platform, okay? So what is it? Well, Uniswap, again, is the most popular decentralized application out there. It's the most used app by a large margin. Basically, it's a decentralized exchange where you can just tell it what token you have, which token you want, you click swap, and then boom, there you go. Because obviously the number one use case for crypto really is just swapping tokens and speculating on cryptocurrencies. And up until this point, Uniswap's home base has been on top of Ethereum, the number two cryptocurrency by market cap and the number one leading smart contract platform, okay? Now, one of the biggest complaints about Ethereum is that it's too slow and too expensive to use. That's why we have layer 2 scaling solutions where you build a second environment on top of Ethereum. You pay the transaction fees in Ether, and then those transactions get settled back onto the main chain. We've seen many different layer 2 scaling solutions like Arbitrum, Base, Optimism, etc., etc. And Uniswap has also migrated to these other layer 2s as well. Now, the introduction of Unichain is Uniswap's own layer 2 scaling solution and a new sort of home base for the Uniswap application. And so that's what it is. It's designed to be what they call, super chain built upon the Optimism stack. So Optimism is another layer 2 scaling solution. Uniswap is basically using that open source technology to bootstrap this. But really what it's doing is it's giving Uniswap a specific environment for it to run off of. So why would you do this and not just use some other layer 2 scaling solution? Well, one of the big issues is liquidity fragmentation. So, Uniswap has a ton of TVL, as in, a bunch of cryptocurrencies parked into it, but they're spread across multiple different blockchains. And the goal here is to sort of get all that stuff into mostly one place and to be able to access liquidity from different places so that whenever you want to swap, you can take advantage of all the liquidity without it being fragmented across a million different spots. Reason number 2 to do this also is to make, the experience for the end user scalable so that whenever you go swap tokens, it's very fast. As soon as you click that button, basically within a second or two, you get confirmation that your transaction went through, okay? And then also, so that it's very cheap to use. Again, like what I was saying before, is one of the big complaints about Ethereum is it's slow. It's also expensive to use, especially in bull markets. But with layer 2, you can dramatically reduce the cost of those transactions to be, a few cents, maybe even sub-cents. But finally, the other main point, and this is the main reason I'm making this video, is that this is going to take the Uniswap token, and then the fees that are a part of this usage are going to go back to the Uniswap token holders who stake their tokens, okay? And that's why this is such a big deal. So let me clearly explain that. So Uniswap has had its own token for quite some time. It launched back in 2020. They wrote the playbook for crypto airdrops, okay? So what was the token when it came out? Well, it really started off as a governance token, okay? Where essentially, whenever you get the Uniswap token, now you get to vote on governance proposals about how the Uniswap treasury is managed and things like that, okay? Now, obviously, as you're seeing the price of the Uniswap token, that sort of tells you what the market values a governance token for, especially inside of bear markets. But with this transition, what's going to happen is people who hold Uniswap tokens and stake can actually partake in the settlement fees from the usage of Uniswap. Now, let me explain why that's such a big deal. Going back to what I was saying before is, many stocks are valued based upon a few things. Number one is the ownership in an actual company, so an actual asset, and based upon the revenues that that asset produces. And if you have a dividend paying stock, of course, you can get a part of that revenue paid back to you. And most cryptocurrencies don't do this. But now what we're seeing is an application specific token, which is flipping the script. You've got a cryptocurrency now that, assuming that there's going to be demand for the application, then people who hold these tokens and stake can make money off the demand for that application. So let me say that again. Basically, the number one use case for crypto is speculating on tokens. A lot of that activity is happening on top of Uniswap. That's probably never going to go away. It's going to increase in bull markets. And the more people do that, a large portion of these fees can get captured and go back to the people who hold the tokens, which is going to make it a lot easier to value this type of cryptocurrency. And to me, that's an absolute game changer because it puts this new type of cryptocurrency in a class that is of its own, that most really don't have the ability to do that. Okay, you've got these meme coins, which are obviously memes. You've got other coins that, of course, you can stake on the networks, but you have to rely upon those networks being used. But this is a bet on the fact that this application is going to get used. We already know that it is, and they can crack this. It's a massive deal for the entire crypto space, and we will likely see lots of other projects follow this same model and have a new emerging class of cryptos that, are basically going to pay back the token holders some portion of the fees based upon the usage of the technology and not just speculating that the price is going to be higher at some point in the future. Now, a couple other points I want to make with this. Uniswap for a long time, especially in their governance forums, has been looking for a way to sort of turn on the fee switch for Uniswap token holders so they can start getting a portion of the swap revenue that comes through on the platform. Now, obviously, this has a lot of regulatory problems with it, where, basically you've got an issue with an unregistered security at this point where people are buying it. And then the application sort of turning on a fee switch. Whenever someone swaps, they get a portion of the swap fee that's going through. Now, I want to be very clear. This is not part of the swap revenue that's coming through. This is part of the settlement revenue for all swaps that are going through. So what does that mean? So basically, like if you go on your MetaMask wallet and you swap on Uniswap right now, you see a transaction fee, okay, that goes to the Ethereum network or whatever layer 2 you're on, and also to the Ethereum network. And then you have a swap fee that's actually a portion of your trade that's going to the Uniswap protocol. So there's two different fees, the transaction fee and then the swap. Now, unfortunately, at this point in time, Uni token holders are not going to get a part of the swap fee that's paid directly to the protocol, but they are going to get a portion of the transaction fees that will be going to settle the transaction on chain. Now, unfortunately, those revenues don't scale with the amount of money that's being swapped. So if you swap, $100, it's the exact same transaction fee basically as swapping $1 million. But the amount of swaps that are going through, that revenue can still be quite significant and can move the needle for those who are holding the Uni token. Obviously, not financial advice. I'm not telling you to buy or sell any cryptocurrency based on this information. But this is a much clever move that gets a lot closer to something like a fee switch for the Uniswap token without going the full mile of taking the swap fee and paying back that to the token holders. That being said, that is something we could see in the future if we see change in regulatory clarity for cryptocurrencies in the United States. I'm optimistic that we can reach that point in the future, but that's not quite where we are right now. All right, so another criticism that I want to address about this is what people are saying for the future of Ethereum based upon this. Is this a bad that, Uniswap is migrating to its own chain? Is that going to impact, Ethereum? Is going to impact the Ethereum price, things like that? So obviously, again, nothing I'm saying is financial advice. I'm not telling you to buy or sell any cryptocurrency based on this information. But let's start off with each criticism. So number one is a criticism that that's going to reduce the amount of fees that are going paid to the Ethereum network. So basically, we already have Uniswap on other Ethereum layer 2s, okay? This is really just creating another layer 2 to do this. And whenever you have a layer 2, you still have to pay the gas fees in ETH. People have to hold ETH in order to make those transactions, and then part of that ETH is going to get settled back onto the Ethereum main chain. It's going to get paid to the validators, things like that, okay? So in that view, that really doesn't change things that much, okay? Also, Uniswap is still going to exist on layer 1 Ethereum, and users are going to have a choice about whether they want to transact there or transact on some other, chain like the Uni chain. And I think that we'll still have plenty of activity on top of Ethereum layer 1 for people who will prefer that, okay? We've got people who still use Uniswap version 2, even though we're many versions beyond that, because it still exists, there's still liquidity, and there's still demand for it. Now, criticism number 2 is that because Uniswap is the number 1 app on Ethereum layer 1, if it's used less and less, then that's going to affect the burn rate for ETH. So if you're not clued into that conversation, basically Ethereum is has a burning mechanism. So whenever you do a transaction on the Ethereum network, part of that fee gets burnt and erased from the network and is what can reduce Ethereum's inflation or make it deflationary. And people are thinking if we have all this activity move away, then the Ethereum inflation is going to run out of control. Now, I really don't think that's going to happen. It could make Ethereum a lot more inflationary on shortened timelines, but what you have to understand is that crypto is very volatile. This inflation rate will also be very volatile. And, even just a few weeks of a crazy crypto bull market can erase all of the inflation that's happened to the Ethereum asset over many, many months, potentially even years. And so I really don't think that's going to be a big deal. Also, not to mention that even when you're doing layer 2 transactions, that's still contributing to the Ethereum burn, although not quite as much. And while this isn't like way, way, way more positive for the Ethereum burn and issuance, I really don't think it's a big deal in the grand scheme of things. All right, so lastly, let's talk about the opportunity for developers with this. So anytime there's a new chain launching like this, that's a virgin ecosystem that needs to be colonized, there's opportunity for developers because there's no apps there yet. Obviously, Uniswap's going to be there, but other apps can get created on top of this, and other things for Uniswap can get created for this. So that's where the opportunity for developers comes into play. So how are some ways that you could take advantage of this? Obviously, if you have an application that you want to deploy to a new chain, then boom, there you go. If you have a portfolio project that you're working on and you want to be sort of the person who understands this new ecosystem, you can, put that there, start talking about it, and that can definitely generate some eyeballs. But another way is with the Uniswap developer grants. So they've launched a Unichain developer grants where basically you can apply for specific grants if you're trying to build something for the Uniswap ecosystem. Or if you're building something and putting it out there, then you can apply for a retroactive grant. So you build it, you put it out there, you apply for this, you give them concrete evidence as to how your project or whatever you've created, whether it's content, whether it's code, has materially impacted the Unichain ecosystem in a positive way, and you can actually make money from doing that. Not to mention the hackathons that are available for Uniswap and Unichain. So if you've never participated in a hackathon, it's one of the best ways to get experience and get eyeballs on your skills as a developer. And there's going to be lots of opportunities for that as well. All right, so that's an overview of Unichain and how this could be a big deal for the Uniswap token and make it a cryptocurrency that's a new class that can operate differently from other ones that are purely based upon price speculation. So let me know what you think down in the comment section below. Are you excited about this? Do you think it's not a big deal at all? I want to hear from you. And whenever you're finished leaving your comment, make sure you smash that like button down below and subscribe. And if you want to take advantage of all the crazy opportunity that's happening in the crypto space right now, especially as this crypto bull market's heating up, then I can show you how to increase your income by becoming a blockchain developer over at dappuniversity.com/bootcamp. You really have to be an expert to get started today. I've helped people with zero coding experience become real-world blockchain developers in a matter of months. So that's all I've got. Until next time, thanks for watching Dapp University.